Hi guys, and in today's video I'm going to show you all the different item combinations for frames and armors. Hi guys, welcome back to another video for PSO Blueburst. In today's video we're going to finish off the series of guides I've been doing for the last few weeks on all the different item combinations that are in the game. So we've already done videos on the different hunter weapon combinations, ranger weapons and force weapons, so feel free to go and check those videos out if you haven't seen them already. But today we're going to focus on the defensive options. So what we're going to look into is all the different combinations for different frames and armors and shields and barriers. We will also briefly look at merges as well, because they do kind of fall into that as well. So as always, there is quite a few. The way that the combinations work in PSO, just to reiterate this, is generally you will either have two different items that you can combine together. That is usually for two weapons. So normally you will have one weapon that you equip and then the other weapon you'll use to combine them together. Other combinations might require one equipable item and then an item that you use on it. So an example of that would be the Dark Floor, where you equip the sword and then use an item on it to turn it into Dark Floor. So for armors, and shields, it is pretty much all of that second category. So it is pretty much entirely you have an armor and an item that you use to turn the armor into something else. So we'll go through all of those and I'll show you how to make them all. I'll also let you know if there's any specific things you need to know about any of the armors as well. So the first armor that we're going to look at is a frame called Spirit Garment. The Spirit Garment is a pretty easy drop to get. It drops on very hard for a few different IDs, and there's a few ultimate drops for it as well, I think. Not particularly difficult to get. The main reason that you want Spirit Garment is, one, it's quite good for leveling low-level characters because it's only got a level 71 requirement, so it's not bad for that. It does also give you passive TP regen as well. But the main reason that you get Spirit Garment is because you can actually transform it into a few different armors. So there is quite a few it can be changed into, some of which are more useful than others. So the first thing you want to do is equip your Spirit Garment. And then the first one we'll look at is if you use a Star Amplifier. So Star Amplifier is a drop you can get on a few IDs. Again, not particularly hard to get. If you equip the Spirit Garment like we have here, and then use the Star Amplifier on it, it will turn your Spirit Garment into a brightness circle. The brightness circle gives you a nice little visual effect around your character. It has really, really nice dark resist and pretty good light resist as well. For female characters, I believe this is one of the best armors that you can use for dark resist. For males, there is another armor which I can't remember the name of offhand in Blueburst, but there is a male-only armor that has much better dark resist than this. Females get a version of it that gives you really high light resist instead, which is nowhere near as useful. So for female characters, Brightness Circle is definitely one of the best armors for dark resist. This is also available in episode 1 and 2 as well. It's got really nice defensive and evade stats as well. Now you might think, well, why would you do this? Because you can actually find Brightness Circle as a drop as well. And this is the problem with this combination. So if you make a Brightness Circle from a Spirit Garment, it's probably easier to do it this way, but the stats will be capped lower. The reason for that is because when you make an armor from another armor, it will factor in the defensive stats of the original armor. Now, Spirit Garment only has a very small variance in its stats that it can have, which means that the brightness circle that it makes can only have a very small variance in its stats, which are on the lower end. So if you're wanting to get, for example, a maximum stat brightness circle, you can't get it through this way. You would have to find it as a drop. But if you just want a way of getting a brightness circle quickly, this is another way of getting it. Personally, I would say that if you are wanting to hunt this, I would probably just go and hunt the actual brightness circle itself or trade for one. But this is another option of getting it if you want to do it that way. That's brightness circle. So the next one, if we go back to our pile of spirit garments and equip this one, the next one is a bit of a joke armor. So we've got this Choo Choo mag here. Now, Choo Choo, you can see it is an actual mag. And you get this, I believe you get the mag cell for this. I think it's from one of the seasonal rappies can drop it. But basically, again, equip the spirit garments, and then you can again use the Choo Choo mag. Now, be aware this will obviously waste the mag, so it is a big investment because you are basically getting rid of a mag to do this. But again, if you use the Choo Choo mag, it will turn the armor into this armor called Choo Choo Fever. The Choo Choo Fever has no resist whatsoever. It also, as you can see, has terrible stats. So what you can see here, this is, I believe this is pretty much a max stat one that I've created, and it's only given us a couple of defense and a couple of evade. It's terrible. The main reason, honestly, that you use Choo Choo Fever is because when you equip it, you get these like explosions of Choo Choo that just erupt from your character. And that is the visual effect for this armor. Just constant Choo Choo. That is the only reason for using it. At high level, honestly, you could probably get away with using it because at high level, defense stats don't matter less and less, honestly. But generally, it's not going to be an armor that you're going to use much. It's more just for the visual effect rather than anything else. And just be aware that you are, again, wasting a mag to do this. But that is another option. So that is Choo Choo Fever. Next one is, again, if we go to another Spirit Garment. I told you there's quite a few combinations for this. If you're wondering how I've got all these Spirit Garments and everything, it's because this is the sandbox server for Affinia where you can just create items. So this is not actually my gear that I use on the server. The next one is if you again equip a Spirit Garment, and for this one, you want to use a Magic Rock Moolah. Now this, I believe you can only do this on human and human characters. I don't think you can equip this on androids. But again, equip the Spirit Garment and use Magic Rock Moolah. And it'll turn it into an Aura Field. Now, Aura Field is a little bit like Brightness Circle, so this is another armor that can drop on its own as well. I think one of the IDs, it might be Oran, gets it from a Lillian Temple, I believe. And there's a couple of other drops for it as well. It's not particularly easy to get as a drop, but it's got the same issue as Brightness Circle, where if you create an Aura Field, it will generally have much lower stats than one that you could find. I mean, you could still find a really low stat one if you hunt one, but if you hunt an Aura Field as the Aura Field drop, you can get a much higher stat one potentially. Now this, you do need to be level 152 for this as well. That is the other restriction on these creations, so when you're trying to create an item, you need to be of the level that the created armor requires. So for example, to create a Brightness Circle, I believe you have to be at least level 111 to create it. So for Aura Field, again, this is very nice stat armor. It's got really good defense and pretty good evade. Decent dark and light resist. Doesn't give us any fire ice or lightning resists. Now Aura Field actually drains TP over time. It is a very slow drain though, so don't worry about it too much. It's not really a big deal. And again, one of the main reasons that people use this is for the visual effect. So again, if you equip Aura Field, you get this like blue flame effect on your character. Personally, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of how this looks, honestly. I think on certain characters it might look okay, but not so much on a human will. So you can see, it does drain your TP slowly, so if I run around, you can see it is very slowly draining my TP. It's like one every few seconds. When you've got this much TP at this level, it really doesn't make any difference. It may as well not be draining it at all. So I would not worry about the TP drain, considering it needs to be level 152 to equip this anywhere. So that is Aura Field. So the last combination for Spirit Garment. So again, if we equip another Spirit Garment, the last combination is actually a two-stage one. So for this one, you need a few of these Magic Rock Heart Keys. So these are an item that you get from Gallon's shop from Paganini's Photon Drop shop. They're about, I believe they're about 45 or so Photon Drops each, 45, 50 around there. So again, once you've got the Spirit Garment equipped, if you use one of the Magic Rock Heart Keys, it will turn your armor into an armor called Love Heart. A Love Heart, you need to be level 131 to equip, and it's also female only. So male characters I don't think will be able to make this combination. You probably have to give the items to a female character. It has pretty decent defensive and evade stats, and it gives you not bad dark resist and pretty good light resist. Now this is quite a strange armor, so with this armor, as good as the stats are, it's actually got a little extra bonus to it, which is if you stand near a male character, and this also includes male NPCs as well, if you stand near a male character, your defense will actually increase. So it's a nice little boost, particularly if you're playing in multiplayer, if anyone's using a male character, providing you're within a certain distance of them. It is quite a close distance you've got to be, but as long as you're within that distance, you'll actually get a defensive boost. So this is available in episode 1 and 2. I should also point out that Brightness Circle, Choo Choo Fever, and Aura Field are also all available in episode 1 and 2. So Love Heart is episode 1 and 2, but there is another combination you can make from this, which is Blue Burst exclusive. So if you're playing Blue Burst, you can then equip the Love Heart, and then use another Magic Rock Heart key on it. And that will turn it into an armor called Sweetheart. Sweetheart has exactly the same requirements, so again it's female only, and again it's level 131. There are a few differences with this. First of all, the stats actually, particularly the defense, is not actually as good as Love Heart. It's actually a little bit worse. The resistance has changed quite a bit, so we did used to have really good Dark and Light resist. They've both lowered slightly, but we now have a little bit of Fire, Ice, and Lightning resist as well. Generally, again, I feel the Love Heart resists are a bit more useful. However, another thing that changes on the Sweetheart is the boost effect. So I mentioned that the Love Heart has this defensive boost that happens when you go near a male character. With Sweetheart, instead of a defensive boost, it actually reduces your defense, but boosts your attack power. So generally it's considered to be a lot more useful just because boosting your attack power is a lot more useful. And it's quite a big boost as well. It also, with the Sweetheart, the boost also gets bigger and bigger the more male characters that you're near. So if you were near 3 male characters, you get a huge attack power boost. I will try and throw up a graphic that shows you what the actual boosts are. But yeah, it is a very sizable boost. However, the defensive reduction also gets worse as well. But generally, very, very good armor for most female characters. It's generally considered to be one of the best female armors overall. So very, very good armor. So finally, with that, we're at the end of all of the Spirit Garment combinations. But that's just the Spirit Garment ones. There are still a load more. So the next armor we're going to look at is an armor called Stink Frame. Now this is not a particularly great armor. Its stats do vary very, very wildly. So for this, you do want to be trying to find a Stink Frame that's got the higher defensive stats if possible. This is a multi-stage combination, and the end results are only available to use by human and human characters. So if you're cast, you won't be able to do this combination. But the way this works is you want to start with the Stink Frame and just equip it. And then the item you want to be using on it is an item called Parasitic Cell Type D. Now, Parasitic Cell Type D is an item that you get from Gallon's shop, from Paganini's Photon Drop shop, and it costs, I believe it's around 20 Photon Drops to get it. Once you've got the Stink Frame equipped, you just use a Parasitic Cell Type D, and it will turn your Stink Frame into Parasite Word Derol. Now, Parasite Word Derol is the first in the series of the combinations. This one will actually drain your HP slowly when you've got it equipped. It doesn't have any visual effect or anything. So if I equip that, you can see there's no visual effect. So once you've got Parasite Word Derol, the next stage is to use another Parasitic Cell Type D. And this will turn the armor into Parasite Word Nelgal. So Parasite Word Nelgal, again, has slightly higher stats than the previous armor. The resistance is, the dark resist goes up very slightly again. And this is the same kind of deal, so again, this will slowly drain your HP while you've got it equipped. This is the next stage in the combination. Again, there is no visual effect with this armor either. Once you've got Parasite Word Nelgal, then you can probably tell what the next stage is. So then use another Parasitic Cell Type D. And this will turn it into Parasite Word Visuala. This, again, has slightly higher defense, slightly higher evade. The level requirements do increase slowly as well, so I think it's 54 for Stink Frame, 54 for Parasite Word Derol. I believe it goes to 66 for Nelgal, and now we've got up to 89 for Visuala. So, again, this isn't much different. The stats are just a little bit higher than the previous one. And again, I don't think this has a visual effect. No, it doesn't. Once you got to this stage, there's only one more stage, which again is to use another Parasitic Cell Type D. So in total, this is going to cost you about 80 Photon Drops to do. So use another Parasitic Cell Type D while you've got Parasite Word Visuala equipped. And this will turn it into Virus Armor Laphiteria. So Virus Armor Laphiteria, you actually need to be level 156 to equip. and you can see now that the defense has shot up. So this is actually one of the highest defense armors in the game. I believe it might be the highest defense armor in the game if you get a good sting frame initially. For characters that are not androids. For androids, there's things like Blackhound Cuirass that have higher defense, but this is definitely up there. The Virus Armor Lafeteria, very, very good defense, not bad evade. Gives you a little bit of dark and light resist. Curiously, it actually gives you less dark resist than the previous ones, but it still gives you 15. Now this one is very interesting. So when you equip this does have a visual effect. So you get these weird like parasitic worms flying off your character, which is lovely. So you get this visual effect. You get, again, much higher stats than the previous ones. Now, one of the interesting things about Virus Armor Lafeteria as well is that it actually doesn't drain your HP. So the previous Parasite wares, they would all drain your HP slowly, but Virus Armor Lafeteria doesn't seem to. So it just gives you a very nice stat boost. So it is just a very, very good armor overall, but it is quite an investment to get it because you need to, first of all, hunt a stink frame or trade for one, and you want to get one that's got really high stats. Then you want to get 4 parasitic cell type Ds to make this. So it is an investment to get, but it is probably worth it overall. So that is Virus Armor Lafeteria and all the different Parasite wares. So next up, what we'll cover is we'll cover a couple of shields as well. So on the subject of, since we covered Stink Frame, we may as well cover the Stink Shield. So Stink Shield is a Blue Burst exclusive item. It's stat-wise not too bad. Actually gives you pretty nice dark resist. This again has a few different combinations. There are 2 different combinations you can make from this. One of them is only usable by humans and humans, and one of them is only usable by androids. So the first one that you can make is what's called the Durolay Shield. So I mentioned previously that for this combination, there is one that's usable by humans and humans and one that's by androids. So I'll show you the human and human one now, and then I'll show you the android one just after this. So for humans and humans, if you equip the Stink Shield, I don't think there's a visual effect with this. I'll just put another armor on just so you can see that. Yeah, so there's no visual effect for the actual Stink Shield itself. But if you equip the Stink Shield, and then you can either use Cladding of Epsilon or Durolay Shell. Now, you can see here that I can't use Cladding of Epsilon, and the reason for that is just because I'm not an android. But if I go to the Durolay Shell, I can use the Durolay Shell, and it will turn the Stink Shield into a Durolay Shield. Durolay Shield has pretty nice defense and pretty good evade as well. It needs to have 102 to equip. Also has some very nice resists. The only downside is it doesn't really have any dark resist. But it does have really, really decent thunder, pretty good ice, not bad fire, and really good light resist as well. Now this, when you equip it, it's quite a big bulky shield, so it is basically Durolay's like face mask. So for the Durolay Shield, there isn't really anything special about it, honestly. It's just got some pretty nice resistances, fairly decent stats as well. It is also used for another combination for a very, very good shield. But that is a combination that's done in Claire's deal. It's actually like an exchange rather than an actual item combination. So I will probably do a video on Claire's deal trades at some point, but just know that the Durolay Shield is an ingredient in one of those trades. But even on its own, it's a pretty decent shield. The next what we'll do is we'll jump over to an android character, just so I can show you the Cladding of Epsilon. Okay, so here we've got an android character, just so I can show you the other combination that's made from Stink Shield. So again, we've got another Stink Shield equipped here. Stink Shield is equipable by androids. So for this combination, what you want to do is you want to find an item called Cladding of Epsilon, and this is just a drop from Epsilon in Tower. Once you use Cladding of Epsilon, it will turn the shield into something called Epsi-Guard. Epsi-Guard again has pretty nice stats overall. Now what you can see here is we have basically no resistances on it, apart from we have huge thunder resist. This isn't exactly as it appears. So when you equip Epsi-Guard, what you can see is it's basically one of Epsilon's shields, and you can see that it's got the yellow light on it at the minute. That indicates that it's boosting our thunder resist. So the way that Epsi-Guard actually works is it operates on beat time, a little bit like things like the Heaven Punisher and actually the Milmator that we've got equipped at the minute. So with Epsi-Guard, the way that it works is every 2 beats, your resistance will change. So the colour on the shield will change to a different colour, and it will cycle your resistances. So at the moment, we've got the yellow shield, which is showing us that we've got a big boost to our thunder resist. So you can see now we've waited for 2 beats and the shield has now changed to purple. So this now means that our resistances have changed. So if we now go back into the armor again, you can see that now we've lost that thunder resist that we used to have, but we've now got a huge amount of dark resist instead. And again, this is dark resist because the shield has turned purple. And then in another 2 beats, it will cycle around to red, which will then boost our fire resist and will drop the dark resist. Then it'll cycle to ice, where it'll gain ice resist and drop fire resist. So it's quite an interesting shield because you've got this constantly rotating resistance. I don't really know how useful the resistance is. It is a huge boost that it gives you, but the fact that it changes every 2 beats is quite frequent. So for example, if you try and use this in tower, you can have a lot of time where it's not going purple, where it's not going to give you that dark resist that you need. However, when it does turn purple, you're getting a huge dark resist boost. So I think it is still a good shield overall, and the amount of resistance it gives you is really, really good. It's just that you do need to be aware that your resistances will cycle every 2 beats. So next, we've got another shield here called Invisible Guard. Now, Invisible Guard is, as a hunt, you can find it in episode 1 and 2, but it is excessively rare. It actually only drops, I believe it only drops in normal difficulty as well. So it's a very awkward hunt. In Blue Burst, I think you can get this from Black Pepper's deal as well, so there is other ways to get it, but it would have minimum stats. So once you've got an Invisible Guard, you can see it's a very, very low requirement to use. Stats on it are not great. It does actually have really good fire, ice, and lightning resists though. If you equip this, you can tell, as you would expect, it's invisible. So once you've got the Invisible Guard equipped, you can then use a Magic Rock Heart Key on it. So this, I believe, you can only do this on a female character. And when you use it, it will make a shield called Safety Heart. Safety Heart has very, very nice stats, really nice evade, and pretty good defense as well, actually. Again, gives you really good fire, ice, and lightning resists. And it does actually have a visual effect as well, so it puts this like little love heart on your arm. This is Safety Heart. So this is a quite nice shield. It does also have some set boosts as well. So the Safety Heart does have a couple of set boosts. So it's got a set boost, most notably with the Rambling May shot, which makes this a very, very popular choice for some 4-miles. Because Rambling May is quite often used by 4-miles as one of their best range options. This actually gives Rambling May an extra 30 accuracy, so it's effectively like having a 30-hit Rambling May equipped, which is a really, really nice bonus for 4-mile. It does also have a set bonus with the Sweetheart armor as well, but that's a much lesser bonus and it isn't really used that often. It just gives you, I think, a little bit of resistances and a little bit of extra frame defense, possibly. It's quite a minor set boost, that one, but the main one you use it for is the Rambling May set boost. But even on its own, even without Rambling May, it's still a really decent shield for female characters. So that is the Safety Heart. So next, I just want to briefly cover these. So there are several items in the game called merges, and they're typically used by forces. Merges they're a type of barrier, and what they do is they provide boosts to different techniques. So, for example, if you were using a Rafoi merge, that will boost the damage of your Rafoi. If you use a Resta merge, that will boost the range of your Resta. So there are several boosts, and there's merges for most different techniques. So the way that you make these, I'm not going to cover every merge here because there are tons of them, but you basically need a certain type of barrier which corresponds to the merge that you're trying to make. So I will throw up a graphic here that just shows you which barriers you need for which merges. But essentially, so for example here, we've got a red barrier. A red barrier is used typically to make merges that are for fire techs. So this will help you make things like a Foi merge, Gifoi merge, Rafoi merge. There is also an overarching one just called Red Merge. The difference with those is that the individual technique merges boost the tech by more. So I believe that the Rafoi merge, for example, boosts Rafoi by 30%, whereas a Red Merge will boost all of your fire techs, but only by 10%. So there's like a trade-off with both of them. So to make these, again, very, very simple. You just need to find the barrier. So in this case, we've got a red barrier. You equip it. And then you need to use an item called an amplifier. And again, amplifiers are usually, in addition to the actual barriers as well, they're normally found in boxes. Usually these tech amplifiers are usually found in different boxes in different areas. As far as I know, I think Pinkill Section ID has a slightly easier drop rate for some of them. So that is one advantage of running a Pinkill Section ID, is that you do get some slightly easier amplifier drops. So with this one, I'm just going to show you how to make a Giveaway merge. Giveaway merge is probably one of the most popular merges in the game, just because of the big boost to Giveaway, which is one the techs use most often. So again, just equip the red barrier, and then use the amplifier of Giveaway. And it will turn your red barrier into a Giveaway merge. You can see the stats on it are not good. The merges give you barely any defense, and their evade isn't that great either. They're also very, very low level requirement to equip. Their resistances tend to depend on what type of merge it is. So because this is a fire-related merge, we get fire resist. You know, for example, a Rabata merge will give you ice resistance on. But these are generally just used purely for the technique boosts. And to be fair, you only really use these on forces usually, for the most part. So with a force, you're going to have D-band level 30 and gel level 30 usually later on anyway. So that will help cut your damage down more than having defense on your gear. So I hope that's been relatively useful. I believe that does cover all the different combinations in the game now. There are some other items that you can combine outside of this method. So there are things like the 1975 Agito conversion to the Orochi Agito. There are also items you can get from quests like Claire's Deal 5 as well. I don't really consider those actual combinations as such because they're done in a different way to this, but I will still cover how to get them in other videos. For the meantime though, if you've enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, or joining as a member. We do usually 2 videos a week where we tend to alternate between older Phantasy Star games and NGS. I also stream once a week on Sundays, which is normally a mixture of Phantasy Star, although this week, the time of recording, we are going to play a bit of Monster Hunter as well. You can also follow me on X at Section Skylight, and I normally post on there whenever I'm going live. And you can also join us on our Discord as well, where we've got a little community that plays quite regularly. So feel free to join us over there as well. You don't need to be a member to join the Discord either. Yeah, hope you found that useful, and hopefully see you guys in the next video.